Later morning, everyone. It is Weather with Sim again. Thank you so much for joining my live stream here today. We are going to be talking about what we can still expect with this tropical system. And the crazy thing is that this has already made landfall. So we'll definitely, continue to be watching this closely. Like I said, it has already made landfall in parts of Florida already, but thankfully it has now downgraded to a category or a tropical storm rather. So we'll definitely need to be watching these areas very closely still. So definitely still, continue to be on high alert if you live in the bend of Florida, back into southern Georgia, and as well as the coastal areas of South Carolina, and as well as North Carolina. And as you guys can see, this system will likely still be a tropical storm, and look at that, Raleigh could even get impacted too, which isn't going to get impacted right now, obviously, but by the time we do head into Friday, this could very well start impacting areas like Raleigh, North Carolina. So we'll need to be paying attention to this very closely. And like I said on my community post, I kind of did start my live stream a little bit early, and that's especially because, we are going to continue watching these areas down here in Florida that have just gotten impacted. So we're going to be paying attention to this area very closely while the, potential for flooding and as well as to tornadoes is still there. And I also got my stuff done earlier than I thought, so I was really able to go live stream right after Debby made landfall. But like I said, is still, doing a lot of things, so we're definitely gonna need to still be paying attention to this closely. But let's see. And yeah, we also got a tropical wave down here that we're also keeping an eye on, as well. As you can see, this X is pretty much right there, and this is, likely going to make it somewhere in this area, as you can see. So we'll definitely need to, be watching these areas very closely for another, potential tropical storm or hurricane to develop. So still be paying attention to, this system as well. But back up here towards Florida, we got some flash flood warnings in effect, and if we read them, it looks like we got in between 5 and 10 inches in some areas. The one that has seen the worst rainfall is when Debby just came in and made landfall, and this says between 8 and 12 inches of rainfall has fallen. So that is very unfortunate for you guys down here towards the bend of Florida, unfortunately. Including areas to the north of Cedar Key, like Perry. Perry really got impacted from this hurricane, but like I said, thankfully it has died down to just a tropical storm, which again, is a lot better than what we saw earlier this morning. And Ryan Hall also went live. He wasn't live when I started my YouTube video, but he definitely was live a little bit after that. So we will definitely need to, be watching for some more flooding and tornadoes as it continues to be a tropical storm, producing winds as high as 60 miles per hour. So again, we'll need to still be paying attention to this, and that's the reason why I am still live, is so that way we can, continue to keep you guys safe from this system. But thankfully, no tornado warnings yet. We can go ahead and talk about this one in New York, though. And as you guys can see, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning in New York for places pretty much to the east of Buffalo and as well as Niagara Falls. And as you can see, penny-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds will be an area to, be aware about, as we kind of do have the storm right here pretty much moving to the east and getting ready to impact in New York. So we'll be watching those areas very closely still. A little bit over here to the west, as you can see, nothing much going on out here, thankfully, but we will still need to be paying attention, like I said. But let's continue talking about what we can expect with Debby as we do head into the future. And as you guys can see, for the rainfall potential, we could still be talking 20 to 30 inches of rainfall with this system. So we definitely need to still be paying attention to this tropical storm right here, which is likely going to come off the coast and turn around, and I can actually show you guys that with the cone of uncertainty. So yeah, it's pretty much going to be coming off the coast and turning around, still bringing, you know, a lot of areas of rainfall, but it will also just be spinning in that area for a long time, and that's the reason why we're going to have that potential for rainfall totals between 20 and 30 inches, because, you know, this tropical storm will just be sitting there trying to rapidly intensify. Let's see here. Mr. Storm says, hey, Mr. Storm. I'm glad to see you here again. Thanks for joining my live stream. And I also did do some live coverage yesterday as well with Debby, as it did, you know, upgrade to a tropical storm, and thankfully it's not a hurricane anymore, but we are going to continue to watch these impacts, such as gusty winds up to 60 miles per hour, and as well as some pretty major flooding as well. So we're going to be watching for both of those as this continues to still be a tropical storm threat, and we will especially need to be watching for that across the Carolinas as well. So this is still something we do need to be keeping an eye on, and again, that's the reason why I am live today, is to continue keeping you guys safe with this tropical storm after it already has made landfall. And if we look at the flash flooding potential, we do have a rare high risk for flash flooding across the Carolina coast heading into eastern Georgia, and as well as parts of the bend of Florida. So both of those areas are an area we do need to be watching closely for. Even into southeast North Carolina will also be an area to watch for. So we will definitely be paying attention to this system for you guys, as we will still need to continue to be on high alert across this area, because not only do we have that high risk potential for flash flooding today, but by the time we head into tomorrow, we got another high risk for flash flooding, and we also have another one up here towards southeast Pennsylvania and as well as central New Jersey. So those areas, you know, near New York and Philadelphia could really be seeing the impacts as we head into tomorrow, with a moderate risk for flash flooding. That's a pretty extreme risk for flash flooding still, even though it's not as bad as what we're expecting down here. We could still very well be seeing some isolated totals of around 6 inches of rainfall up here towards southeast Pennsylvania, like I said, and as well as central New Jersey. So again, that is going to be another area to keep an eye on as we do head into tomorrow. And then for day 3, which will be after tomorrow, so pretty much by the time we head into Wednesday, we are going to continue to be watching these same areas once again for the potential of flooding, as we do have another rare high risk in effect for the Carolinas. So we will continue to be watching those areas as well, as this continues to be quite a threat, because like I said, you know, if we go back to the cone of uncertainty, like I said, you know, this is likely just going to be staying off the coast, just spinning around, and then when it finally moves, it will still be able to, you know, try to intensify a little bit, and then it will pretty much be continuing up to the north towards Raleigh, North Carolina, and perhaps towards Washington, D.C. So those will be 2 other areas to be watching closely for too, as well as that potential for flash flooding and gusty winds, like I said, will still be there. So, you know, we definitely got to continue to be watching very closely for these areas to potentially get hit hard again. And then, if we also look at the storm surge, still got a little bit of storm surge going on near the Big Bend of Florida, so we still are going to be, you know, keeping an eye out for that area still. We still, you know, got that potential for 2 to 4 inches across the Carolina coast. Not very surprising, because, you know, we also will likely be seeing some tropical conditions across Carolina heading into parts of Georgia. So, you know, again, this area will definitely need to also be on high alert for some storm surge, as, you know, places like Savannah heading into Charleston will likely see some pretty big impacts. But yeah, like I said, we are gonna still be watching these areas very closely. And something else I also want to show you guys, because like I said, we just took a look at that severe thunderstorm warning a few minutes ago. But what I want to show you guys is that Y'all Scan has came out. This is Ryan Hall's weather website, and this is where you can pretty much look at the storm prediction center outlooks, and as you guys can see, it does look much different, but it is really cool though. So that's definitely pretty interesting right there, that we do get quite a new website to look at. And then we can even look at day 2, and even as well as day 3. So pretty cool website right there that Ryan Hall y'all got. I don't know if you guys know him, but he's one of the weather people on YouTube who has a lot of subscribers, so you guys can go see him if you want. You can even look at the National Hurricane Center if you want, and this is showing pretty much what Tropical Storm Debby is continued to be doing, as you guys can see. So like I said, it's a pretty cool website. I do recommend you guys visiting Y'all Scan if you guys can, because like I said, it's pretty cool. It's also new as well at the same time. So this is definitely going to be one of the websites you guys should see to keep your guys self updated on the weather. Or you can continue to use me if you want, but I'm just showing you guys that because it's a really cool website that you guys can look at if you would like. But back over here towards areas pretty much to the east of Buffalo, New York, still got that potential for 60-mile-per-hour winds, and as well as some penny-size hail. So we will still continue to be watching those areas very closely. And then we still got those flash flood warnings still in effect for parts of the bend of Florida. So again, between 12 inches of rainfall has fallen. So 8 and 12 inches have fallen, but we also could see another additional 2 inches of rainfall as well. So we'll still continue to be keeping an eye out for that area too as well. And then if we look over here towards the Carolinas again, nothing much going on yet, but like I said, this thing will just be spinning, just trying to tell you guys that a lot, because this could really be causing some historic flooding, especially if it just wants to sit off the coast and be spinning around, just dumping rainfall again and again and again. And that's exactly why we're concerned about rainfall totals between 20 and as well as 30 inches. So we are still going to continue to be watching those areas very closely. And then that rainfall potential, like I said, again, 20 to 30 inches of rainfall will be possible across the Charleston area of South Carolina. But look at Raleigh, okay? Raleigh, North Carolina could be seeing 8 to 12 inches of rainfall from the system. So we will definitely need to be watching those areas up to the north, even areas as far north as Washington, D.C., as you can see. 2 to 4 inches of rainfall will be possible from this system, so you guys in Washington, D.C. should also be on high alert. But not only that, even Richmond, up there in Virginia, 4 to 6 inches of rainfall will be possible. So again, you guys need to be on high alert if you guys do live in those areas, but especially out down here towards Charleston, Wilmington, and as well as Savannah, Georgia. So we will continue to keep you guys updated with the latest on that total rainfall. And then if we go ahead and take a look at the radar again, we will still need to be watching these areas down here in Florida. Like I said, we don't really have too much to be taking a look at as of right now, but again, we are still going to be live for this to keep you guys safe, just in case anything does go. And yeah, so let's also go ahead and take a look at those Storm Prediction Center outlooks now. We're going to go ahead and use this website to let you guys know about what's happening for the severe storm outlook. And as you guys can see, we do have a slight risk for severe thunderstorms across places like Minnesota, heading into Iowa, even getting down there into southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, and then we got another slight risk heading from Maine all the way into southeast Michigan, and then we even got another slight risk down here for the Carolinas, heading into Georgia and as well as Florida. So we will need to be watching those areas too to as well. But we can't really see the hazard, so we're going to go ahead and go to the Storm Prediction Center update now, so that way we can get a little bit better detail on what we can expect. And tornado watch still in effect, as you can see. But if we look at the Storm Prediction Center hazards, as you guys can see, we do have a 5% risk for tornadoes across the Carolinas heading into Georgia and as well as Florida. So definitely be prepared for tornadoes still. Like I said on my title, this will still likely cause tornadoes, even though it did die down to a tropical storm. For the wind threat, we do have a threat for some scary damaging winds between 60 and 70 miles per hour heading from Maine all the way to southeast Michigan. And then we got that other area from Minnesota, southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, and as well as northern Iowa to keep an eye on. And then finally, for the hail threat, we do have a threat for some large hail from Maine all the way through northeast Pennsylvania. And then we got another one across southern Minnesota, southern Wisconsin, into northern Iowa, and as well as northern Illinois. And yeah, we are still watching very closely, like I said. And if we look at what this will be by the time we do head into, let's see, Saturday, which will be this weekend, like I said, Washington D.C. does need to still be keeping an eye out for this, because we could very well be seeing some impacts from this. So we will definitely, be needing to keep an eye out for, at least some severe thunderstorms potentially with this system, as it does turn it into a tropical storm, which will happen mainly by the time it does head into, let's say, between Richmond and as well as Virginia Beach. So both of those areas will definitely need to be paying attention, like I said, because, we definitely still need to. But we still do have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for parts of New York. Again, 1-inch hail, 6-mile-per-hour winds now possible with that storm. So we'll still be keeping an eye out for that, because the potential will still be there. We got another storm getting ready to come off Buffalo and is likely gonna turn severe. At least that's what I assume, as it does head a little bit farther to the east, because since this storm turned severe and since it also did get a little bit stronger, we know that this storm is going to be in a pretty similar environment. So we'll watch that storm closely for you guys. We also do have a special marine warning in effect for Lake St. Clair, pretty much in southeast Michigan. And as you guys can see, we could be seeing some winds between 30 and as well as 40 knots. So pretty much 34 miles per hour or greater will be possible. So we will need to be watching, for those gusty winds across Lake St. Clair, like I said, pretty much just in southeast Michigan or even to the east of Detroit. So we will continue to watch that for you guys as well. And if we go back down and take a look at this tropical wave again, like I said, we are still needing to be watching this area of potential development by the time we do head throughout the next 7 days. And even though it does have only a 30% risk of developing, we will still, likely see something happen. So like I said, we're going to continue watching this area down here for you guys, and let's see what the storm or the National Hurricane Center has about that other wave. So we're gonna go back to where we were before, and yeah, it shows that X that's gonna be moving into here. And that's where we could see some development, like I said. That does remain uncertain still, but we definitely will still be keeping an eye out for it, like I said. And then back to the wind speed probability. We haven't took a look at that, so let's show you guys before we forget. And as you guys can see, we do have some pretty big areas to watch for. So we got a pretty much a 100% chance of seeing some tropical storm force winds pretty much in that purple color that you see. So places like southern Georgia and as well as northeast Florida. Gotta continue to be on high alert for some tropical storm force winds. And then if we also look at the 50 knot probability, which is still tropical storm force, but that's usually more like of a mid tropical storm. So mid-tropical storm isn't as bad as a high-end tropical storm, but as you guys can see, we got a pretty high chance of seeing some 50 knots or greater of some wind, so we will definitely watch that. We still got a slight probability of seeing some hurricane force winds still, but like I said, that hurricane Debby did die down to a tropical storm, so now it's considered tropical storm Debby, and that's the reason why those chances for hurricane force winds are already dying down. But let's look at the timing again. This isn't really the cone of uncertainty, but this does still show the timing. And as you can see, by the time we head into Wednesday and as well as into Thursday, Raleigh, North Carolina likely to get impacted overnight Wednesday and continue into Thursday, as you guys can see. And then that does remain uncertain, but it does sound like this is likely going to head into the water, though, because this timing does head into the water. So we'll have to see about that. Like I said, Washington, D.C., you guys need to be paying attention to the system still, as it could very well cause some pretty major impacts, especially if it continues pretty much to the north. But like I said, Raleigh, North Carolina, likely to get impacted overnight Wednesday and into Thursday morning. But before Wednesday, we will likely see some impacts from the system across the Carolinas. Like I said, those are the areas that we're watching the closest still, and as well as eastern Georgia. So, Monday through Wednesday is when the Carolinas will likely get impacted, and then Thursday through Friday is likely when the Mid-Atlantic will get impacted. So that's something to keep in mind if you are looking to be at risk for a potential tropical storm, which we can go ahead and also show you guys the models. We haven't took a look at the models yet, and as you guys can see, yeah, most of them actually do show that this will pretty much, either be a little bit offshore or pretty much continue up the East Coast. Where I think this will be is that it will pretty much be, on some of the East Coast, and some of it will also be in the Atlantic Ocean, because some are showing it in both areas, but I think the best choice would be pretty much between the ocean and as well as the East Coast. That's probably where the middle of it will be, at least. So we'll have to see where this goes. This could very well let's see. This could very well go up here towards Nova Scotia. So we will be watching Nova Scotia very closely, and as well as New Brunswick too as well. So Nova Scotia and New Brunswick might get some impacts from the system, especially if it's able to turn into a tropical storm by the time it heads up the East Coast. It's just that it will, probably be a little bit on land, so it will be a little bit hard for it to intensify, but we will at least still need to be watching very closely for that. But these other tracks actually do show the same thing. As you can see, this one does show it heading up the East Coast and into New Brunswick and as well as Nova Scotia and Canada. So again, both of those areas should be paying attention still. And then for another track that we could see, this is showing that it will be well off the coast and pretty much be moving towards Greenland, which I know isn't shown on this map, but it's just over here. So it would be good to have this be offshore after it impacts the Carolinas. So, we will need to be watching those areas very closely. So the worst case is that we might see this continue impacting all areas along the East Coast and into New Brunswick and Nova Scotia up here in Canada, just right around Maine. But the best case scenario is that this pretty much stays offshore after impacting the Carolinas and as well as Georgia. So that would be the best case scenario But like I said, the worst case scenario is that we might have this continue all the way up the east coast and impact New Brunswick and as well as Nova Scotia up here in Canada, which again is around the main region. So we'll definitely need to be watching those areas up there very closely, like I said, which, it does remain uncertain on if it will do that by the time it heads up there, but I would probably say the best agreement that we have is that the system will likely move up towards Washington, D.C., so I probably would say this is likely going to stay on the coast, but like I said, hopefully it does go off the coast by the time it does pass the Carolinas. Like I said, that would be the best case scenario, is that it comes off shore after impacting the Carolinas, which would be, probably about right here, and pretty much continue into Atlantic Ocean. So let's hope it does that, but it could even just be impacting the whole coast the whole time. So like I said, it's going to be something to keep an eye on, but that does remain very uncertain by this point. But we still do need to be watching the severe thunderstorm warning up here towards New York still. And as you guys can see, we got this one heading towards Rochester. You guys in Rochester are actually in the middle of this storm, and the storm actually did strengthen again because we are going to see the potential for 1.25 inch size hail, which is $half size hail, by the way. So $half size hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds will be a concern for Rochester, as this hail core will likely be right over that area. So like I said, this storm is in a pretty good environment, and that's the reason why, this storm over here in Buffalo could very well strengthen as well. So that's what we are going to be keeping an eye on still. And then back down here towards Florida, still need to be keeping an eye out for, some potential flooding still, like I said. Because like I said earlier, even though it did die down to a tropical storm, it's still strong enough to where it could cause some gusty winds, and as well as some major flooding. And let's actually look at the U.S. power outages. We haven't took a look at that yet, so let's go ahead and look at the U.S. power outages map. And yeah, look at that, almost 300,000 people without power in Florida. That is crazy. Okay, look at that, Taylor County in Florida, almost 100% without power. This county up to the north, which is Madison County, look at that, almost 100% without power too, because the darker the color, the more people without power. And when you're talking the maroon color, you're talking almost the entirety of the county out with power. So that's really what we're seeing right there, is that almost the entirety of each county that you see is out without power. So these yellow ones that you see aren't entirely without power, thankfully, but some areas are. So about 30% of that county is without power, and that does include Levy County in Florida. And then this one right here in Lake County, Florida, this is about I would probably say about 5% without power. So like I said, it's pretty much the darker the color, the more power outages there are in that county. And if it gets to the maroon shaded color, that means the county is completely without power. So you guys in Florida need to figure out a way to survive these next few days, because it might really be taking a while for your guys' power to come back, unfortunately. But Georgia is also starting to get impacted too. Look at that, already starting to see almost all of this county in southern Georgia get impacted. So we will definitely need to be watching southern Georgia pretty closely, and we'll keep you guys updated with Georgia as it does move through. For the Carolinas, though, maybe seeing some power outages, especially in the southern part, but not really looking at any major impacts just yet. We're going to have to wait a few more days for the system to move and potentially impact those areas. So we'll need to be watching very closely for that. And then if we also look at California, also without power as well, but we're not really concerned about them because those areas aren't really getting impacted. But for Nebraska, which has been getting pretty slammed with a lot of severe storms these last couple of weeks, has really continued to see a lot of power outages, guys. It's very crazy that we have been seeing a ton of power outages here in in Nebraska. So this is definitely not good news for you guys in Nebraska. 'Cause Douglas County and Washington County in Nebraska are pretty well without power. So you guys in Nebraska do need to continue to, be paying attention to it very closely still. But if we also go ahead and take a look at the severe thunderstorm warning up here in New York again getting ready to impact Rochester. Something else we can take a look at though is the correlation coefficient. I know we used this, to figure out if there's a tornado on the ground, but you can also use this to maybe indicate some hail. And yeah, there is quite a bit of dark color showing up, so yeah, that does indicate that there could very well be some large hail in that storm. So like I said, you don't always have to use correlation coefficient to be able to just see a tornado drop, but you can also use it to be able to tell if there is large hail in the storm, because sometimes that does work. So again, if you do live in Rochester, you gotta be ready. Half-hour size hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds are coming your way. But I do need to go ahead and use the bathroom though. We will go ahead and zoom out so you guys can see any more warnings that may pop up. I will be right back. Alright, I'm finally back now, my friends. Sorry about that, but we will still be watching this storm very closely, like I said, heading to the east towards Rochester, like I said, getting ready to produce some half-hour size hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. Let's see here. I hope this hurricane brings some rain here in south. It's a infrared hellhole of brotail heat. What does that mean? Are you trying to say that you guys need rain down here in the south? Because, we do have a ton of rain coming towards South Carolina, my friend. South Carolina could be seeing some rainfall totals between... Look at that pink car right there indicates 20 to 30 inches of rainfall. That means major flooding is likely. So, I don't really know what that meant, like I said, but I do believe that, some areas still do need the rain. So, yeah, we still could use some rain from the system for sure. But, again, I'm not really sure what that means, my friend. And then if we also look farther down here to the south, again, we are still watching this area for a potential tropical storm to develop, which, will likely pretty much move to the northwest and could, very well impact places like the peninsula over here. So we will definitely need to be watching these areas very closely, like I said, for that potential as it does move northwest. And then if we also go ahead and take a look at the modeled again. That's something we also haven't took a look at yet. Still expected to, at least be rated between Category 1 and a tropical storm, but like I said, that did die down to a tropical storm, so that's kind of likely to, stay right around the tropical storm status for, the next couple of days or so. So we'll continue to be watching those areas very closely still. Still got that severe thunderstorm warning up here towards Rochester, New York. Still potential for half-dollar size hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. So we'll continue to be watching that storm as well. And let's see here. I have. Let's see. Have a great day, Mr. Storm. Yes. Yeah, sorry for misspelling hurricane and brutal heat. Oh, you're okay. You're okay, my friend. You're all right. If you need to ask any more questions, feel free to do so. But like I said, just try to make them a little bit more understandable. But like I said, you are okay, my friend. I still appreciate you for chatting and as well as joining my live stream. That's still very nice of you. And then if we also go ahead and take a look down here towards these flash flood warnings again, between 8 and 12 inches of rain have likely fallen in some areas. So again, we will continue to be watching these areas pretty closely. So we definitely are still going to be watching, and we do, have a lot. Look at that, between 7 and 14 inches of rain have fallen, and rainfall announced between 6 and or 3 to 6 inches are possible in the Warren area. So just letting you guys know that this flash flood warning is pretty considerable. So you guys in, let's see here, Live Oak and as well as areas down here towards Fort White, you guys are probably already seeing some major flooding. Let's see here. Judy says, thank you, awesome weather report. Thank you so much, my friend. I really do appreciate that. You're being really good during my live stream. Again, I do appreciate you guys for joining me. That is very nice of you guys. Back up here towards Rochester, New York. But we do have a special marine warning in effect. And as you guys can see, winds up to 35 knots will be possible. So we definitely got to be watching this storm, like I said. So, we can already tell it's strengthening quite a bit. And again, this storm right here, already right next to Buffalo, could very well, start impacting a lot of areas. So we definitely got to be watching that storm very closely still. And so, we definitely will continue to keep you guys updated with that storm impacting Buffalo right now. And then down here towards, like I said, these flash flood warnings again. As you guys can see, got quite a bit of flooding ongoing still, as we still got, that considerable flash flood warning because, of how 3 to 6 inches are still going to be possible in that Warren area, but between 7 and 14 inches of rain have already fallen. So, again, we will continue to be watching those areas very closely still. And if we also go ahead and take a look at the National Hurricane Center again, like I said, we are still watching that potential for some heavy flooding, if why not extreme flooding, down here towards the Big Bend of Florida. Let's see here. Hey Sim, hey there, friend. Thank you so much for joining my live stream. I didn't think you would be able to join me today, but I really do appreciate that. And like I said, if you're just joining, we are talking about Debby still, as Debby is still going to be causing some really big impacts over here towards the Carolinas. 20 plus inches of rainfall is possible in this pink color that you see. So Charleston all the way down to Savannah, Georgia could see 20 to 30 inches of rainfall from this storm, okay? The reason why is because if we look at the cone of uncertainty, look at that. This system is likely going to, continue to be in that same area for quite a while, okay? Because as you guys can see, there's a lot of time frames to, be keeping an eye on this storm as it does make its way towards the Carolinas. So as you guys can see from 8 a.m. Wednesday through 8 a.m. Thursday, this will continue to be impacting the Carolinas. So that's a really long time of very heavy rainfall and gusty winds. And again, that's the reason why we are still being very well concerned about some areas potentially getting over 20 inches of rainfall. Let's see here. How long until Debby ends? Do you think this is a potential world record hurricane? It's not a world record hurricane because Debby has actually already died down to a tropical storm, and I can actually go ahead and show you guys that, by the way, because as you guys can see, Debby is a tropical storm. It was a hurricane, and it was, pretty much showing this shape right here, but it's already a tropical storm, and it was only a category 1 hurricane, which is, the weakest hurricane on the scale. So no, obviously not a world record, but historic flooding does appear likely, though, my friend, as this system is likely going to be, pretty much just be spinning off the coast, like I said, because like I said, from Tuesday all the way to Friday, the system is going to continuing impacting South Carolina and as well as Georgia and as well as North Carolina. So again, because of how long the system will be near South Carolina, that's the reason why we are going to likely be talking potentially some record-breaking and historic flooding. So not a historic hurricane, but historic flooding, though. Historic flooding is a lot different than a historic hurricane, because like I said, it doesn't really determine the rainfall totals about seeing a hurricane. It's more of the winds that really determine on if it's a hurricane or not than the rainfall. So like I said, that's the reason why we do expect some very historic flooding in those areas. Let's see here. Did people have to evacuate their homes? I bet some probably did, but like I said, it was the weakest hurricane on the scale, so I don't think so. But some probably really did, just to make sure they are, safe from the system. So, like I said, it was the weakest hurricane on the scale, but it wasn't, strong enough to really cause any major damage. So, like I said, it was, pretty bad, but definitely not as bad as it really could have been. Let's see here. Wow. I mean, of course. That's what we are watching for. Like I said, a lot of rainfall possible, like I said, not because it will be a hurricane, but because this tropical storm will be sitting off the coast of the Carolinas. Like I said, it's kind of like, a storm not even moving at all or doing anything, that's just continuous rainfall, so that's, again, going to be a very big concern across parts of South Carolina heading into Georgia. So you guys got to be prepared for some historic flooding for sure. Not looking good for you guys down there in the Carolinas, like I said. It's more going to be, a historic flash flooding event than it is going to be a wind event. But we can still get some gusty winds from this tropical storm, especially if it chooses to strengthen. But something else, that I also want to show you guys that are just joining, because, we did go over this a little bit earlier, but again, Ryan Hall does have a new website called, Y'all Stan. This is a really cool website to go to if you guys would like it, so search for y'allscan.com, and, this is pretty much, a website to go to if you guys want to see, the Storm Prediction Center outlooks, which are pretty cool, by the way. It's pretty cool to see the Storm Prediction Center outlooks in this type of way, even though they are shown more like this, as you guys can see. So you guys can probably tell that looks a lot different than showing the Storm Prediction Center outlook this way. So definitely a different type of Storm Prediction Center setup. Let's see here. How long did this hurricane last? How long do you think the tropical storm will last? This hurricane didn't last for very long, because again, like I said, my friend, it did, was the weakest hurricane on the scale, so it's obviously not going to be lasting for a really long time, but it probably lasts for about 5 hours, starting at 2 o'clock in the morning and continuing through 9 a.m. in the morning, so that's about how long, it was a Category 1 hurricane for. But if you're wondering how long it will also be a tropical storm for, obviously a very long time, my friend. A very long time is, likely with this tropical storm. And I gotta go ahead and pull up my radar again so I can show you guys. But yeah, like I said, this is gonna be, a hurricane for a very long time, mainly because of how long this is gonna be lasting for. Because look at that, this is gonna be lasting pretty much from today all the way through Saturday. So it will pretty much be a tropical storm the rest of this week, unfortunately, my friend. So it's going to be a tropical storm the rest of this week. But the hurricane only lasts for 5 hours because hurricanes don't really last a long time when they come inland. They do last for hours still, but they definitely don't last for days, though, when they come inland, especially if it's a weaker hurricane. So it really depends on what's happening, pretty much, which is, what determines on how long the hurricane lasts for. So let's see here. Freckle says they didn't get alert to evacuate till 1 a.m. Like with I am I supposed to do at 1 a.m. I absolutely get that, my friend. They definitely would, bring those alarms up as soon as this hurricane, came into town. And like I said, that's about when, the hurricane started. And then, it pretty much ended right around 9 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, like I said, I absolutely get that, my friend, because, like I said, I probably should have been live for this, but, that was very early in the morning. That's when most people are asleep, so that's also a good time to set the alarms up to as well, because, people really need to be woken up after the hurricanes for sure. So yeah, like I said, it was definitely very early in the morning. That's the reason why the alarms went off. And then it ended at 9 o'clock in the morning, like I said. So, again, we'll continue to be watching this very closely still. Because, again, it's still causing some major flooding. And as it comes off the coast, it will likely be spinning there for a while, bringing that potential for 20 to 30 inches of rainfall to both the Georgia and as well as the South Carolina coast. And then it will continue to bring those same impacts as it continues north towards Raleigh, North Carolina, which could be seeing between 6 and 8 inches of rainfall. So that's why places like Raleigh also need to be paying attention to the system as well, unfortunately. And then if we also go ahead and take a look at at what we're also seeing, because, if we go back to the models again, as you guys can see for the models, again, they are showing that this storm could really be heading up the east coast, but this could either get into Nova Scotia, or this could continue up the east coast the whole time. Who knows what's going to be the worst case? We just know that this is going to be traveling some part of the east coast, and it could go two ways. It could either go up the east coast and into Florida, or not Florida, into Canada, or this could go up in there towards Nova Scotia and as well as New Brunswick. So those are the areas that also need to be paying attention to the system as well, like I said. So we'll continue keeping an eye on that for you guys up here towards Maine, Nova Scotia, and as well as New Brunswick, because those will be the areas to really be keeping an eye out for. And then back here to the radar again. No severe thunderstorm warnings in effect down here just yet. We still got this one in Rochester. It looks like this one has died down a little bit, but it is still capable of producing some penny-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. So again, some hail and gusty winds are coming your way, Rochester. Get ready still. This one towards Buffalo is coming off. This one could develop into a severe thunderstorm, like I said, especially because it will be in a pretty similar environment. So that's the reason why we are going to be watching it closely. And then back over here towards Detroit, as you guys can see. So Detroit, Michigan got a severe thunderstorm warning for areas just off the shore, or this is actually a special marine warning, but it's also a kind of like a severe warning, as some winds between 30 and as well as 40 knots will be possible. So we'll continue to be watching that area for you guys as well. Yeah, but we haven't really been taking a look at very many things in today's video, especially because we didn't really have tornado warnings, which I was expecting, but it turns out we didn't see any tornado warnings, like I said, which is good news. But we mainly did this stream to let you guys know about what could, be happening in the future with Debby, like I said. So, if we take a look at this one more time, like I said, you guys in, South Carolina, you guys need to be on the most high alert, as 20 to 30 inches of rainfall does appear possible with this system. So definitely be prepared for that, like I said, as historic flooding will be likely, not because of a hurricane, but because this tropical storm will be off the coast. So again, keep that in mind if you forgot. And then again, for the flash flood potential, the reason why we could see historic flooding is because we also do have a high risk for flash flooding, which is rare, by the way. We don't usually see the highest flash flood threat on the scale very often. So that is definitely another reason why we could be seeing some historic flooding. And if we go day by day with that, as you can see, first starting off with today, we got that threat for some historic flooding due to that high risk and effect. Same goes for tomorrow, especially. That's where both Georgia and as well as South Carolina look to be getting the most impacted. And then back over here for day 3, as you guys can see, Carolina's still likely to get impacted. But let's see here. Freckles says, I went into all the lives last night and everyone was acting like it wasn't a big deal because we didn't get a direct hit. But Pinellas County by the beach got hit so bad. I'm just north of St. Pete. Really? I am kind of surprised about that. I didn't know you were so close to it. Let me go see where that county is, by the way. So sounds like it's near the coast. So let me go ahead and check that out. There's even, some counties over here as well. But yeah, I absolutely do believe you about that. St. heat is definitely another area that did get hit pretty good as well. But I do appreciate you telling me that, my friend. That is definitely a really big problem right there, especially if people didn't act the way they should have. But, if I was in a hurricane warning, which I'm not, I'm all the way up here to the north, but if I was in a hurricane warning, I would obviously, really make my action plans in place and not ignore any of it. But yeah, it is a really big deal if no one chose to, be prepared for it, and if no one thought it was a big deal. So that is not very good news right there. Hopefully no one got injured, and hopefully there was no fatalities, which more than likely no, because like I said, it was a very weak hurricane, but you should still be following those rules, obviously. But thank you guys very much for watching my live stream. Hope you guys did enjoy today's live stream. If you guys are wanting to if you guys want me to be live again tomorrow, don't forget to click that subscribe button, and as well as that notification bell down below, so you guys are notified when I ever go live. And like I said, don't really have a whole lot of things to talk about. We are mainly just doing this stream is to let you guys know that we can really expect some historic impacts in the future, and we can even expect, some gusty winds too as well to impact those areas. So that's one of the reasons why we did this live stream. And again, I wish I could be live for when this really was a hurricane and started making landfall, but it turns out that was way too early for a lot of people, so that's the reason why I didn't go live. But at least I was able to let you guys know about what could happen in the future, so hopefully you guys are ready for that, and we will continue to keep you guys updated with the latest. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you guys are notified whenever I do go live.